In a room with a single flickering bulb, someone stands frozen. The air is heavy, the silence louder than thought. There's just enough light to see their trembling hands, but beyond that glow, nothing but darkness. Every small movement feels dangerous. Every shadow seems alive. They tell themselves that staying close to the light will keep them safe. That if they just avoid what lies beyond its reach, nothing can hurt them. But deep down, they know the light is fading. And sooner or later, they'll have to face what waits in the dark. We've been raised to believe that light means safety, clarity, success, goodness. We chase positivity like a religion. We post it, quote it, wear it like armor. The world celebrates the ones who smile through pain, who say, "I'm fine," while crumbling inside. We call it strength, but it's a disguise. We've been trained to fear the other half of life, the stillness, the sadness, the shadows that whisper truths we don't want to hear. But here's the paradox. The more we chase the light, the more the darkness grows behind us. Every fear we ignore becomes larger. Every emotion we suppress sinks deeper, until one day it begins to leak through the cracks, through anger, anxiety, burnout, numbness. That's when we realize that the things we've been running from were never outside us. They were always within. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's the essence of our hidden struggle. The darkness isn't evil, it's unacknowledged truth. It's every feeling we deemed unacceptable, every part of us that society told us to hide. Our jealousy, our rage, our grief, our desires, they live there, waiting to be seen. But instead of facing them, we numb them. We keep scrolling, we keep achieving, we keep smiling. Anything to stay in the light. We call it progress, but it's avoidance. We tell ourselves we're healing, but we're only decorating the walls of our denial. True healing doesn't happen in light. It happens when the light fades, and you sit in what's real. The quiet moments where no one's watching, when your mask slips and your soul whispers, "This is who I am." That's where transformation begins. Most people spend their lives fearing that moment. They believe that if they look too closely at their pain, they'll fall apart. But what if the opposite is true? What if falling apart is exactly what frees us? We keep thinking strength means holding everything together, but real strength is letting what's false fall away. We avoid darkness because we think it's the opposite of light. But in truth, it's the womb of it. Without night, dawn means nothing. Without suffering, joy has no shape. The darkness doesn't destroy us. It shows us who we've become by hiding from it. Every shadow we deny becomes the part of ourselves we least understand. And what we don't understand, we fear. Imagine this. The person standing under the flickering bulb finally steps forward. The light behind them shrinks, and the shadows seem to rise up, alive and infinite. Their heart pounds, their breath quickens. But as their eyes adjust, they start to see shapes, contours of what once terrified them. The dark isn't empty. It's full of truth. It's everything they buried, the grief they never mourned, the anger they never spoke, the love they never allowed. And in that stillness, they realize something. The darkness was never here to consume them. It was waiting to be seen. Our darkness is not a curse, it's our teacher. It holds the map back to wholeness. Every time we turn away from it, we lose another piece of ourselves. But when we turn toward it, something changes. The fear doesn't disappear, but it becomes smaller. The light returns, not as a blinding illusion, but as understanding. We fear the dark because we've mistaken comfort for peace. Comfort keeps us safe. Peace requires truth. And truth often lives in shadows. We live in a time where people think enlightenment is a glow you earn after enough meditation, affirmation, or achievement. But enlightenment isn't the absence of darkness, it's the intimacy with it. It's the courage to sit with what hurts and still whisper, "I'm here." Maybe the light we've been chasing has never been outside of us. Maybe it's been trapped inside the very darkness we've been taught to fear. Because the moment you stop running from your shadow, you begin to see that it was never chasing you. It was guiding you back to yourself. And so the question lingers like a whisper in the dark. What if the light you're chasing has always been hidden inside the darkness you run from? The truth is, Every one of us carries a darkness we do not want to see. It lives beneath our confidence, beneath our kindness, beneath the image we show the world. It's not evil. It's simply unseen. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche, the side of ourselves we repress, deny, or disown. It's the anger we swallowed because it wasn't polite. The envy we buried because it wasn't spiritual. The power we abandoned because it made others uncomfortable. The shadow isn't just our shame, it's also our potential, the raw, untamed energy of who we could be, if only we had the courage to face it. We grow up learning which parts of ourselves are acceptable. Be kind, not angry. Be smart, not emotional. Be productive, not lazy. And slowly, piece by piece, we exile the rest. We build a persona, a mask designed to protect us, to keep us loved, to keep us safe. But that safety comes at a cost. Because every part we exile doesn't die, it waits. In the dark corners of our mind, the shadow keeps breathing. It whispers through our insecurities, our addictions, our compulsions, our sudden bursts of emotion we can't explain. Every unacknowledged part of us finds a way to live, indirectly, through projection. You felt it before. When someone irritates you for no clear reason, it's often your shadow wearing their face. When you judge another person harshly, it's often the reflection of something within yourself you haven't accepted. The shadow speaks through mirrors, through symbols, through patterns that keep repeating until you finally turn toward them and say, "I see you." But that moment, that act of turning toward the darkness, is terrifying. Because to see your shadow is to admit that the monster under the bed was always you. It's to realize that the anger you condemn in others also lives inside you. It's to face the fact that you are capable of both beauty and destruction, love and cruelty, creation and chaos. Nietzsche once wrote, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster." But what he really meant was this: when we deny the monster within, we project it outward. We make the world our battlefield instead of facing the war inside. That's why societies fracture, why relationships implode, why people chase perfection, because they cannot bear to admit their own imperfection. We try to be light without acknowledging the darkness that defines it. But light without shadow isn't illumination, it's blindness. The truth is, facing the shadow doesn't make you evil, it makes you whole. It doesn't mean indulging in every impulse or emotion, but understanding their roots. Your rage might not be cruelty, it might be a cry for justice. Your envy might not be sin, it might be unacknowledged desire, showing you what you truly want. Your laziness might not be failure, it might be exhaustion from living a life that doesn't belong to you. To make the unconscious conscious, as Jung said, is the essence of transformation. Because when you bring light to what's hidden, you reclaim your power. You stop being a puppet of unseen forces and start becoming the author of your own story. But the modern world doesn't teach us how to do this. It teaches us how to escape. We've built an entire culture designed to keep the shadow buried. Entertainment to distract, substances to numb, technology to fill the void. We confuse stimulation with aliveness. We confuse productivity with purpose. And so, the shadow festers beneath the surface, whispering louder, waiting to be seen. Alan Watts once said, "The more we try to control life, the less we live it." And that's what happens when we try to control our inner world. We cut off half of ourselves. We become mechanical, anxious, detached from the mystery that once made us human. We strive to become better, not realizing that the act of striving itself is the very thing that keeps us from wholeness. Because what you resist persists, and what you run from follows. When you finally stop running, you'll notice something. The shadow you feared isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to reunite with you. It's the unloved child of your psyche, knocking at the door, saying, "Please stop pretending I don't exist." Viktor Frankl taught that we cannot avoid suffering, but we can find meaning in it. And the same is true for our inner darkness. We can't erase it, but we can learn from it. Suffering is not a punishment, it's a passage. It's how the self awakens from the illusion of separation. To face the shadow is to say, "I am all of it. The saint and the sinner, the giver and the taker, the calm and the chaos. Only when you hold both sides in your hands can you begin to live authentically, not as a curated image, but as a whole human being. But this journey is not intellectual, it's visceral. It's the tremor in your hands when you admit a truth you've hidden for years. It's the tears that come when you realize your anger was really grief. It's the peace that follows when you stop judging the parts of you that simply wanted to be loved. The shadow doesn't disappear after you face it. It becomes integrated, like night blending into dawn. And in that merging, something miraculous happens. The parts that once scared you become your greatest teachers. Your anger becomes passion. Your pain becomes empathy. Your fear becomes wisdom. That's what it means to see yourself. Not through filters or affirmations, but through raw, honest confrontation with your own depths. To stand in the storm of your contradictions and say, yes, this too is me. Because self-knowledge isn't about feeling good, it's about being real. And being real means embracing the paradox of your own humanity. You are not the mask you wear, nor the monster you fear. You are the space that holds both, the witness behind the chaos, the awareness that sees without judgment. And when you finally understand that, you stop fighting with yourself. You stop chasing perfection and start cultivating presence. You stop running from the dark and start walking with it, not as an enemy, but as a companion. The shadow is not your punishment. It's your invitation to become whole again. So the next time you feel anger, envy, fear, shame, pause. Don't reject it. Don't analyze it to death. Just see it. Breathe it. Listen to what it's trying to say. Because that voice, the one you've been avoiding, is not the voice of a broken person. It's the voice of someone who's been waiting in the dark for you to finally come home. You smile your way through discomfort because the mask has become your default defense. But the truth is, you can't be fully alive while hiding behind it. The price of approval is authenticity. Philosophically, this is the paradox of the human condition. We crave belonging, yet belonging often demands conformity. Society asks us to play roles, but selfhood asks us to break them. To be authentic is to risk disapproval. To be real is to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is terrifying, because it means we might not be loved. But here's the truth no one tells you. Love that depends on your mask isn't love. It's an agreement between illusions. The people who only love your persona are in love with the idea of you, not the reality of you. And as long as you keep performing for them, you'll never know who could love you for real. This is where Jung's shadow work becomes more than theory, it becomes survival. Facing your shadow means reclaiming the parts of you that you've exiled in exchange for acceptance. It means sitting with your anger instead of hiding it, owning your jealousy instead of denying it, embracing your sensitivity instead of apologizing for it. Every piece you reclaim weakens the mask. Every truth you honor brings you closer to the center of yourself. But don't romanticize it, this process hurts. It's not poetic at first, it's disorienting. You'll feel lost, confused, even empty. Because when you strip away the false identities, what's left is silence. And silence can be terrifying. The persona gave you structure, validation, applause. Without it, you feel naked. But that's the point. Only when you're stripped of your borrowed selves can you begin to sense who you really are. Nietzsche called this self-overcoming, the act of transcending the illusions that once defined you. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the parts you've rejected. Alan Watts called it letting go, the realization that the person you think you need to be is just an idea. They were all pointing to the same truth. The mask keeps you safe, but it also keeps you asleep. And maybe that's why so many people never wake up, because waking up requires breaking something that once protected you. It means disappointing others. It means being misunderstood. It means standing in front of the mirror and not recognizing the person you've become. But it's only in that disorientation that freedom starts to breathe. There's a moment, subtle, fleeting, when you catch yourself mid-performance. You're about to say something just to fit in, to please, to impress. But this time you pause. You notice it. You realize you have a choice. You can keep playing the part, or you can step off the stage. That single moment of awareness, that's the crack in the mask. And from that crack, light begins to enter. You start noticing how much of your life has been shaped by invisible expectations, how often you bend to avoid being judged, how deeply you crave being seen, yet fear showing who you are. You begin to understand that approval is just a mirror reflecting your mask, never your soul. Slowly, painfully, beautifully, you start to withdraw your energy from the performance. You stop rehearsing lines that aren't yours. You stop laughing to fill silence. You start sitting with yourself, quietly, honestly. At first, the silence feels heavy. But over time, it starts to feel like home. Because in that silence, you're not performing. You're being. And maybe that's the moment when the real transformation begins. Not with grand revelations, but with small, subtle refusals to wear the mask one more day. That's when the shift happens. The outer world loses its grip. The need to impress softens. You begin to see the futility in constantly chasing validation, because the person you were trying to prove yourself to was never really watching. They were too busy performing their own act. And in that realization, something inside you exhales, a quiet, almost sacred peace. The kind of peace that doesn't need to be liked, followed, or approved of. You begin to understand, the mask wasn't your prison. It was your teacher. It showed you exactly who you no longer need to be. There comes a moment, and it rarely announces itself, when you simply can't pretend anymore. You're sitting in a meeting, smiling at the right times, nodding on cue, doing everything that used to keep you safe. But inside, you feel hollow. The words leave your mouth, yet none of them feel like yours. You walk home that evening and realize you're tired in a way that sleep can't fix. Something inside you whispers, I can't do this anymore. That's where the unmasking begins, not in some grand rebellion, but in quiet fatigue. The soul has limits, and when it's been silenced too long, it begins to revolt. It starts as a faint discomfort, an ache that says, this isn't me. But soon, it becomes impossible to ignore. The smiles feel forced. The conversations feel shallow. The world that once validated you starts to feel suffocating. You try to push it away, but it grows louder. It feels like losing your identity, but in truth, you're losing your illusion. Because what's really happening is this: your false self is dying. Carl Jung wrote that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The unmasking is that descent, the moment you finally turn toward the darkness you've been avoiding. You start seeing how much of your life was built to earn acceptance. You begin questioning why you chase approval in the first place. You realize that your worth was never truly in your own hands, it was outsourced to everyone else's opinions. At first, this realization is devastating. You feel naked, like standing in the middle of a crowded room without your armor. All those years of being the good one, the pleasant one, the reliable one, they crumble. You don't know who you are without them. You look in the mirror and see two versions of yourself, the one the world loves and the one you've ignored. That second one, quiet, uncertain, a little wild, has been waiting. And now that the mask has cracked, she finally breathes. The process of unmasking isn't clean or cinematic. It's messy, emotional, and often painful. You'll grieve the old self, even if it wasn't real. Because the mask gave you comfort, identity, and belonging. It gave you a script. Without it, life feels unscripted, and that's terrifying. But what if that fear is actually the doorway? Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps, wrote that everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the freedom to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. And here, that choice is this: will you continue to live according to the approval of others, or will you face the anxiety of being yourself? Freedom doesn't begin with rebellion. It begins with surrender, the surrender of your performance, your image, your need to be seen as good. You start realizing how deeply approval has infiltrated everything. You wore clothes to please others. You spoke carefully to sound intelligent. You pursued achievements not because they fulfilled you, but because they impressed people. And now, stripped of those layers, you face a kind of spiritual nakedness, terrifying but honest. This is the death of the mask. And like all deaths, it comes with pain. But beneath that pain, something sacred stirs. It's not confidence, not arrogance, it's aliveness. You begin to feel what it's like to be unfiltered, unpolished, unscripted. You speak your truth and your voice shakes, but you speak anyway. You set a boundary and someone walks away, but you breathe easier. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. And slowly, you begin to see that rejection is not failure, it's purification. Every time someone walks away from your truth, they make space for someone who can actually see you. The mask was keeping the wrong people close. This is what Alan Watts meant when he said, "When you let go of trying to control the world, you find that it begins to flow naturally." When you stop controlling how others see you, you begin to see yourself clearly for the first time. You start noticing little moments of peace, moments that used to be drowned out by anxiety. A walk alone feels sacred,